I am told that we have a circle with a rectangle drawn inside it, and we know some of the dimensions here. Oop, that's really fat ink. Let's narrow that down a bit. The dimensions here are 6.52 centimeters on H and 7.6 centimeters on W. So if I'm told those two dimensions, how can I figure out the area of the shaded regions? And it might be a little tricky to think about it this way. We're not used to this, but maybe we can all agree that it would be really helpful if I knew some dimensions of the circle. I've got the area of the rectangle, that's just H times W. But the area of the circle means I'm going to need a diameter or a radius or something. So let's start talking about the diameter, which is this distance. And as soon as I draw that line right there, do you have any clues of how to figure this out? Maybe pause the video, see what you can come up with. And let me just give you another clue. H equals 6.52. I can also write over here as this side of a triangle, whereas W is this side of a triangle right there. So I've got 6.52 for H, 7.6 for W. And what can you do now? Do you remember the Pythagorean formula, which says, let's call this X. Or you know what, even better, let's call it D because it's the diameter of a circle. Pythagorean theorem says D squared equals H squared plus W squared. So that's going to be equal to 6.52 squared plus 7.6 squared. 6.52 squared plus 7.6 squared equals 100.27. Okay, which means the radius is just that thing, square root of that thing, I should say, divided by 2. Now, if you're following along with me and you get a radius of 5.0067, you are right on the money. You're doing this the right way. Okay, that's the radius of the circle. Now, that's super helpful because the area of the circle is then going to be pi times this thing squared, which, if I do that in my calculator here, answer squared times pi, the area is going to equal 78.75 approximately. So that's the area of the circle. And the area of the rectangle, this is very straightforward, it's just height times width. So that's going to be 6.52 times 7.6, which my numbers tell me is 49.55. Okay, so the shaded area, if you look at it, it's just the portions of the circle that are not in the rectangle. So in other words, the circle minus the rectangle, that leaves me the shaded area. So the answer to this one is going to be, well, 78.75 minus 49.55. So what I'm doing here is subtracting the rectangle, and I get 29.2. That's the area of the shaded region. Now the circumference of the circle, we haven't talked about that yet, but no problem. I've got radius right here. So circumference is just equal to 2 pi r, which means 2 times pi times 5.0067, 2 pi 5.0067 equals, according to my calculator, 31.46 or so. All right, so important concepts here. First of all, you have to know how to find the shaded area of a weird-looking picture by taking one shape that you know and subtracting another shape that you know. That's really useful. Second major concept, in this guy, we mixed in a little bit of the Pythagorean theorem, which tells us the length of the hypotenuse of a triangle.